Hey guys, Darkster here with my review on Devilian. Now, what is Devilian? Devilian is this Diablo-esque MMO. Imagine if Diablo were an MMO. That's kind of what Devilian is, merged with World of Warcraft's questing system in some way. I mean, even WoW is very different from its original questing system. Imagine WoW's original questing system merged with Diablo, and that's basically what you got in Devilian. Now, simple question, is Devilian a good game? No, not so much. Is it a bad game? No, it's not a bad game. It's not a good game, it's not a bad game. It's very much right there in the middle, which is, it's worth a little bit of time. It's worth jumping on and just kind of mindlessly playing for maybe a few hours, to maybe a few days, to maybe a few weeks. If you're playing it for longer than that, you should look at other games. There's probably a lot better games out there. I think Diablo overall is a better game. I think Torchlight is even a better game than Diablo, especially Torchlight 2. Love that game. If you're interested in this kind of RPG or this kind of dungeon crawler type game, I would recommend Torchlight 2 the most, but this is very cool because it's very different. And the one thing I would say Devilian does the best is it gives you a lot of abilities that are cool and that are fun to use. Where in, say, Diablo and Torchlight and all these other games, I just feel you have too few abilities, and then within that you even have certain abilities that are like defensives, For instance, on my Barbarian in Diablo, I have like a defensive cooldown ability which just heals me or something. And the thing is, I already only have like 4 buttons to click, and then within that I have a situational ability that's another like kind of thing that I have to click only at a certain time. So I'm really only clicking 3 abilities, and then within that there's like another gap closer ability, so I'm just spamming like 2 abilities and just right clicking and left clicking. In Devilian, I actually feel like I have a bunch of abilities to click. They're quick, they're fast, I have a bar that fills up and then disappears as I use my abilities. It's nice having a lot of abilities to click, and that's kind of something I would say I wish Diablo and Torchlight and these styles of games would actually add. Actually, I would even go as far as saying I wish Diablo 4, when it eventually comes out, would actually be more of this kind of MMO, this kind of Diablo MMO. That's what I wish Diablo 3 actually was. Is this the thing is, you have this whole aspect of people trying to get gear, and they get geared up and then they brag about it and stuff, but it's like, I don't care. And even people in Diablo, do they really care how good your gear is? It's like, I never understood this ideology of grinding for gear, getting this gear, and just that's it. It's like, all right, I got the best gear, and that's kind of it. The aspect of the MMO side means you're gonna have people there, and you can show it off, and people will see it, and you can play with people. And I don't know, I like what Devilian is trying to be. It just doesn't do it very well, and you need a company like Blizzard to kind of really push this out properly, or someone else that kind of has a better idea, because it's a very bland, kind of boring game, Devilian, at the end of the day. Even though it does have half-decent combat. The whole abilities are probably the best part about this game. Take that away and you kind of have a very boring, bland game that I wouldn't recommend for long periods of time. There are better games that you can play for longer periods of time when it comes to MMOs and when it comes to the whole dungeon crawler type game. Another weird thing about Devilian is this whole, like, you become a Devilian thing, like, where you transform, which I don't understand because the Devilian powers are way cooler, right? So it's like, why even have the normal version of yourself? And I know the Devilian powers are kind of variations of your normal self, like, you have your normal ability, and then the Devilian version is kind of like the better version of it, but why even have one or the other? Why have the Devilian version, or why have the normal version, even though they're very similar? And what I'm saying is, well, you can say it's a transformation, but why have the transformation at all? You know what I mean? Why have a transformation that changes the abilities just slightly, but makes them all better and more fun? And then you have the PvP aspect, which you're only in Devilian form for. So why not just make the whole game in the Devilian form? Why not, it's called Devilian, why not make it all Devilian, Or why not just have the Devilian form be like a ability booster, something just kind of makes you change the look, but have the overall abilities be the same. I don't know why they did that. I feel like it's a really stupid idea because it basically splits up all their skills and abilities. It makes you basically have a cool situational thing, and then you have like this random kind of boring stuff. And they split their overall abilities and their setups into 2 random paths for no reason at all, when they could have just made it all one really cool setup. Actually, speaking of it being split up and not being just being weird. Why is it gender locked? Why is this game gender locked? What is with these new games coming out, or at least just Asian MMO type games that are coming out, that they just gender lock everything? I do not get that. That is a huge step backwards. I think people should be far more annoyed with this than they actually are, because you allow them to keep doing this shit, and then basically what's going to happen is they're not going to bother making half the models, and then they just split that among the classes. Overall, there's not enough classes either. There's only 4 classes, too few if you ask me. At least 6 would be my personal opinion for like the amount you need, or there needs to be a lot of variation within each individual class. Like for instance, Elder Scrolls Online, where there's huge variation even though there's only 4 classes. Where here it's like you have 4 kind of mediocre classes, then they're all gender locked. And then even the customization within the gender locking is super minimal. It's like the lack of customization. And they're constantly pushing in to try and balance the game as much as possible. But these Asian MMOs, they generally just don't care for whatever reason, you know. Even these older games, a lot older MMOs that I know had problems, still have the exact same problems because the companies just aren't worried about it. They just, or maybe the larger player base of those games don't care, and maybe the more American type games or more American type audiences, and they care more. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Devilian's a fun game to just kind of jerk about on, but I wouldn't recommend it for long periods of time. That's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, please subscribe, rate, and comment. And Darkster out. Peace.